Akasinko said it outright. They're just using Shedeur for marketing. That line, delivered with disbelief and frustration, summed up the nightcap segment that had fans nodding in agreement. As Kevin Stefanski continued to sidestep naming Shedeur Sanders even as a backup, while propping up Bailey Zappe, Sharpe and Ocho called out the clear double standard. If the Browns have no intention of developing Sanders, why is he even still on the roster? The answer, according to them, name value.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
Not performance. Not growth. Just optics. That critique lit up the internet. Viewers didn't hold back, echoing that Sanders is being held hostage by a franchise more concerned with ticket sales than player development. The vibe in the comments was unified. Stefanski's approach is toxic, outdated, and disrespectful to a player who hasn't been given a fair shot. And the authenticity of Nightcap, the jokes, the raw emotion, the zero-filter delivery, gave the outrage the platform it needed. Kevin Stefanski might want to avoid turning on Nightcap for a while, because Shannon Sharpe and Chad Akasinko Johnson just set fire to what's left of the Browns' quarterback credibility, and they did it with receipts, frustration, and the kind of unapologetic honesty that fans have been begging for. The second Stefanski hesitated to name Shedeur Sanders the backup quarterback, not the starter, not the face of the franchise, the backup, it was clear this wasn't about talent. It was politics. Par. And the moment Bailey Zappe's name entered the conversation as a more viable option, Shannon Sharpe called it exactly what fans have been screaming on every platform since the preseason started: sabotage. Not bad coaching. Not poor judgment. Sabotage. Because what other word fits? Shedeur Sanders is being kept in the building, hyped in marketing campaigns, given just enough shine to keep fans paying attention, but never enough opportunity to grow. He's being used, not as a quarterback, as a prop, a placeholder, a tool for the Browns to say, we've got next, without ever proving it on the field. And that's what sent Shannon and Ocho into orbit. On Nightcap, they weren't just analyzing. They were unloading. Sharpe called out the entire Browns operation for stringing Shedeur along with no intent of letting him actually compete. Akasinko echoed the same, saying what needed to be said out loud. The franchise isn't interested in developing Shedeur, just benefiting from the hype that comes with him. That wasn't just commentary. That was a mic drop, because if you're keeping Shedeur off the field, refusing to release him, refusing to trade him, and refusing to even name the backup while Bailey Zappe gets serious looks, then yeah, you're not just mismanaging. You're sending a message. And that message is loud and clear. We don't care about Shedeur's future. We care about control. And this is where Nightcap hit a nerve with fans. A deep one. The second the episode dropped, the comments blew up. Viewers were beyond frustrated. They were angry, calling the Browns' strategy insulting, Stefanski's indecisiveness unjustifiable, and Shedeur's situation what it truly is, a career chokehold. It's not just disappointing anymore. It's offensive. Because how long can a team dangle a player like this before it starts to look like sabotage on purpose? If Shedeur isn't in your plans, let him go. If he is in your plans, let him play. But what the Browns are doing now, keeping him buried behind a quarterback carousel that somehow includes Bailey Zappe, it's not development. It's dysfunction. And fans aren't blind. They've seen this story before. A young QB with upside brought in under the promise of opportunity, only to get stuck in a system that clearly doesn't want him to succeed. Stefanski's been through quarterbacks like tissue paper, and every time the excuse is different, but the pattern is the same. Shedeur is just the latest example. And that's why the backlash has been so loud, because this one hurts. Shedeur isn't just another rookie. He's a player with real presence, mental toughness, leadership, and a name that carries weight, not just because of Deion Sanders, but because he's earned his own spotlight. And now, he's stuck in a room where he's not even second string. He's an accessory to the franchise. And to Shannon and Ocho, that's a slap in the face. Not just to Shedeur, but to anyone who actually cares about building up young talent. Sharpe made it clear. You don't treat quarterbacks like this and expect to be taken seriously. If you're not giving your young players a clear developmental path, Then what exactly are you doing? The Browns won't say. Stefanski sure won't say. They've offered no public explanation, no transparency. Just silence, which says more than any press release ever could. And that silence, it's enraging fans. Because if Bailey Zappe really is being considered over Shedeur Sanders, then the Browns aren't just making a questionable call. They're disrespecting the game. Zappe's name coming up at all in this context feels like a troll move. A guy who's bounced around, failed to stick in New England, and hasn't shown anything close to Shedeur's upside, being handed a role that Shedeur hasn't even been considered for? That's the part that's got fans yelling sabotage in the comments and thanking Sharpe, and Ocho for saying what team reporters won't touch. This isn't about performance. It's about preference, favoritism, internal politics. And frankly, it's exhausting. Ocho didn't need to say much to make a hit. His reactions, the disbelief, the "you've got to be kidding me" tone said it all. You could feel the disappointment. The same disappointment fans feel every time the Browns pull something like this. Because this isn't the first time they've mishandled the quarterback. And it won't be the last. But it should be. This should have been the moment where Cleveland changed the story. Where they brought in a high upside, high visibility QB and actually backed him. Let him develop. Let him earn the job. Let him fail and grow. But instead, they brought him in and immediately boxed him out. And now they're hoping no one notices? Too late. Shannon noticed. Ocho noticed. And the fans? They're all over it. The situation's so ridiculous. Even neutral fans, people with no stake in the Browns or Shedeur, are tuning in just to see how badly this team can fumble a good thing. And the fumble's already happened. It's not even about whether Shedeur gets the job anymore. It's about the message that's already been sent. We don't believe in him. And for a player at this stage in his career, with this much media scrutiny, that message hits hard. It messes with development. It kills confidence. It poisons locker rooms. Because other players see it. Too, they see the double standard. They see the politics. And they start to wonder if they're next. If performance matters at all, or if it's just about who the coach likes more that week. This is how you lose the room. This is how a franchise rots from the inside. And Stefanski? He's doing nothing to stop it. No comments. No clarification. Just leaving Shedeur stuck between being a QB and a brand, while Bailey Zappe slides in under the radar. And you want to know what the most common comment was under Nightcap? Trade Shedeur now. People are done waiting for the Browns to figure it out. They don't trust the process. They don't trust Stefanski. And they certainly don't believe Shedeur is going to get a fair shot in Cleveland. And can you blame them? How can any young quarterback succeed when the coaching staff is this indecisive, this tone-deaf, and this unwilling to be transparent? At this point, it's not just about who plays. It's about who gets treated like they matter. And right now, Shedeur Sanders, one of the most talked about young players in the game, is being treated like an accessory. So yeah, fans are mad. Nightcap is mad. And if Shedeur is not mad yet, he should be. The Browns have made their stance clear, whether they say it out loud or not. And if they keep going down this road, the fallout won't just be about one player. It'll be about the organization's inability to build anything real, anything sustainable, anything respectful. Let us know how you feel in the comments. Is Shannon right? Is this straight up sabotage? Should Shedeur demand out now, or wait to see if Stefanski finally caves the pressure? And are the Browns ever going to stop tripping over their own roster moves? Hit subscribe if you're tired of teams wasting talent in real time. And stay tuned, because as long as the Browns keep fumbling this, we're not going anywhere. There's no nice way to spin this. The Browns aren't just making a questionable football decision. They're staging a full-on character assassination of a rookie quarterback before he's even had a chance to show what he can do. And the wildest part? They're doing it in broad daylight, with the whole league watching and pretending it's normal. That's what makes this Nightcap segment so important. Shannon Sharpe didn't speculate. He didn't tiptoe. He dropped a word that everybody had been dancing around. Sabotage. Not miscommunication. Not delay. Not trust in the process. This is intentional, and it's strategic, and it's completely out of pocket. Because there's no excuse for what's happening to Shedeur Sanders. There's no developmental plan here. There's no timeline. There's no depth chart integrity. There's just this vague, uncomfortable purgatory where a highly touted prospect is stuck behind Dylan Gabriel, another rookie, and now, somehow, Bailey Zappe. And every time someone asks why, the Browns duck the question like it's a blitz. Let's be real. This is not how a functional franchise treats their investment. They won't trade Shedeur. They won't release him. And they absolutely will not give him reps. He's a quarterback without a role, a roster spot without a future, and the only thing keeping him in Cleveland is the fact that his name still generates attention, which is exactly what Sharpe and Ocho were getting at. The Browns aren't developing Shedeur. They're marketing him. They're slapping his name on content, rolling him out for interviews, leaning on the Sanders brand to create buzz and keep fans engaged, and then shoving him into the background once the cameras stop rolling. It's not football strategy. It's PR manipulation. And it's obvious. And let's just go ahead and address the elephant in the room. Bailey Zappe? What universe are we in where Zappe, a career backup whose biggest moment in New England was getting benched for Mac Jones, who also got benched, is being considered ahead of Shedeur Sanders? What game film are they watching? What system are they running where that makes sense? Because it sure as hell isn't based on upside, or talent, or long-term thinking. And this is where fans completely lost it. The nightcap comment section turned into a public forum for Brown's outrage. Some called it a joke. Some said it was calculated. Others didn't even try to hide their anger, calling Stefanski's handling of the situation a disgrace, a humiliation, and a betrayal of trust. One viewer summed it up perfectly. They're not coaching Shedeur. They're containing him. That's what this feels like. A containment strategy. Not let's help him grow. More like, let's make sure he doesn't shake things up. Because what happens if Shedeur starts to shine in practice? What happens if teammates start rallying around him? What happens if fans start demanding his name on the depth chart? Then Stefanski loses control of the narrative. Then it's not about development. It's about a coach who got caught sleeping on a player who could have helped his team win. And that's where the fear sets in. Because Shedeur succeeding forces everyone in that building to admit they had no plan. It exposes them. So instead, they lock it down. Keep him out of the spotlight just enough to control the headlines. But not enough to avoid criticism, because now that criticism is boiling. And the fans aren't buying the silence anymore. They're looking at Stefanski like, you've had years. What exactly have you built? Because for all the talk about structure and system and process, the Browns are still the Browns, still in quarterback limbo, still burning bridges with young talent, still leaning on short-term fixes with no long-term vision. If you're Shedeur Sanders right now, you got to be wondering what the point of any of this is. You came in with expectations. You came in ready to work. You came in with a name, yes, but also the numbers, the tape, the resume. And now you're watching the team prioritize someone who's bounced around the league and hasn't shown a fraction of your potential. What message does that send? It tells every rookie, every prospect, every guy grinding in the offseason that it's not about performance. It's about politics. And in that kind of environment, players check out. That's when a locker room breaks down. When guys see the most hyped rookie on the roster getting shelved for no good reason, it changes the dynamic. People stop trusting the process. People start questioning the coaches. And they should. This isn't just bad optics. It's organizational failure. And unless something changes fast, it's going to cost the Browns more than just one player's trust. It'll cost them the locker room. It'll cost them credibility. It'll cost them every ounce of goodwill they tried to build by drafting Shedeur in the first place. Because the longer this drags on, the more obvious it gets that Stefanski isn't coaching to win. He's coaching to control. And when you coach from a place of fear, all you do is destroy potential. This is exactly what Shannon Sharpe and Ocho were warning about. They've seen it. They've lived it. They know what it looks like when a team pretends to be developing a player while actively keeping him out of the conversation. That's not mentorship. That's sabotage. And fans? They're not just seeing it. They're done with it. They want Shedeur either in the mix or out of Cleveland. Period. No more passive-aggressive depth chart politics. No more hiding behind a learning curve. He's either your guy, or he deserves a chance to be someone else's, because keeping him boxed and behind Zappe is disrespectful. Not just him, but every fan who bought into this team, believing there was finally a real plan. Spoiler, there wasn't. This is just more of the same. A revolving door of quarterbacks, a coach who refuses to adapt, and a franchise so focused on maintaining power that they'll waste real talent just to avoid tough decisions. And if you think Shedeur doesn't see that, you're wrong. He sees it. His teammates see it. The media sees it. And now, thanks to Nightcap, every single fan sees it. The Browns are running out of places to hide. And if they think they can keep stringing this along until the heat dies down, they're in for a rude awakening. Because this isn't just a hot topic. It's a movement now. The calls for change are getting louder. The pressure is real. And if the Browns don't course correct immediately, they risk turning what could have been a franchise cornerstone into yet another what-if story in a long list of Cleveland quarterback failures. This situation with Shedeur Sanders isn't quietly brewing anymore. It's exploded. It's the conversation now, not just among fans, not just on Nightcap, but all over the league. Other teams are watching. Other players are watching. And what they're seeing is one of the most recognizable young quarterbacks in the country being shoved into a corner like an afterthought, while Kevin Stefanski plays depth chart politics with Bailey Zappe. Let's not downplay how serious this is. When a head coach has a potential franchise quarterback sitting on the bench, not because of injury, not because of poor performance, but because they refuse to even give him a shot, that's not a football decision. That's a power move. That's a message. We'll decide when you're allowed to matter. And Shannon Sharpe, he heard that loud and clear. He said the word that no one in the Browns organization wants to hear, sabotage. And he was right. There's no other word that fits. Because when a team actively blocks a quarterback's progress, refuses to trade him, and still dangles the possibility of someone like Bailey Zappe leapfrogging him, that's not competition. That's containment. That's calculated. And let's not act like this is subtle. The fans are screaming. The Nightcap comment section turned into a full-on intervention. One user said it best. This is a career chokehold. They're not even pretending to hide it anymore. Exactly. The Browns are holding on to Shedeur like a souvenir. Something shiny to show off. Not a player. Not a future leader. Just a marking piece they refuse to play with. Because play with it might mean letting go of control. And look, if Shedeur wasn't talented, if this was just about hype and the Sanders name, maybe you could rationalize this. But it's not. The kid has skills. He's calm in the pocket, smart with the ball, coachable, media-ready, all the things you want in a young QB. But somehow, that's not enough in Cleveland, because it was never about merit. It was about narrative control. If Shedeur succeeds, he becomes a story. If he wins the backup job, pressure mounts for him to play. If he actually performs well, Stefanski's process goes out the window. The spotlight shifts. Suddenly, Stefanski's not the system guy anymore. He's a guy who delayed the guy. And he knows it. That's the fear. That's why this is a sabotage. And Ocho felt it too. He's been in those locker rooms. He's seen what it looks like when coaches protect their comfort zone instead of building for the future. His face said it all on Nightcap. Disbelief, frustration, and a little bit of sadness. Because this isn't just a coaching problem. It's a cultural one. When you treat your most promising rookie like a branding asset instead of a football player, that sets the tone for the entire team. You think the rest of that locker room isn't watching? You think they don't notice that a guy like Shedeur, with all his promise and work ethic, can't even sniff QB2? They're watching, and they're taking notes. Because when politics decide playing time, belief in the system disappears. And Stefanski? He's running out of system to hide behind. This isn't a one-off. This isn't some isolated decision. This is a pattern. The man has gone through quarterbacks like rotating appetizers. Nobody sticks. Nobody develops. And now, Shedeur is the latest name getting caught in the spin cycle. Only this time, it's blowing up in real time. Why? Because Shedeur isn't just another draft pick. He comes with eyes, with attention, with a built-in fan base that is vocal and extremely online. You can't just bury him quietly. Not with Nightcap on the case. Not with Shannon Sharpe putting Stefanski on blast and fans echoing it across every platform. So what now? If the Browns had any self-awareness left, they'd make a move. Either open up the competition and give Shedeur real reps, not scout team scraps, or trade him to a team that will. Because this middle ground, this passive limbo where he just sits and waits while Bailey Zappe gets nods in meetings, that's not a strategy. That's a stall tactic. And let's be honest, it's not even working. They're not preserving peace. They're not keeping fans calm. They're lighting the fan base on fire and then refusing to put out. Every day that goes by without clarity, without transparency, without any sign that Stefanski is going to do the right thing, the trust gets worse. The locker room, they notice. The fans, they're done. And Shedeur, he's wasting time. And that's the biggest crime here. Wasting time. Time is everything in the NFL. Development windows are short. Reps are precious. Confidence is fragile. And right now, Kevin Stefanski is flushing Shedeur Sanders' rookie momentum down the drain. Just keep the illusion of control alive for one more week. This is how careers stall. This is how resentment builds. This is how franchises collapse from the inside. Not because of lack of talent, but because of refusal to lead. And don't be fooled. This won't end quietly. If Shedeur doesn't get a chance, if this continues down the same path, the narrative only gets worse. You think Nightcap was tough on Stefanski now? Wait until mid-season, when the Browns are struggling and Zappe throws a pick in crunch time. You think the comments are wild now? Wait until Shedeur's agent leaks something. Because if the Browns don't course correct soon, this isn't just going to be a storyline. It's going to be a scandal. And not just the Browns. For any team that thinks they can do the same, dangle a young quarterback with massive potential and no plan, just to squeeze every drop of attention out of him before discarding him quietly. It won't work anymore. Not in 2025. Not with fans watching. Not with Nightcap watching. So, Cleveland, what's it going to be? Are you going to let the situation implode while pretending everything's fine? Or are you finally going to face the music? Give Shedeur Sanders the shot he deserves and try, just try, to do the right thing for once? You already know what time it is. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Should Shedeur ask for a trade? Is Stefanski's time up? And how many more quarterbacks are the Browns going to mishandle before they learn? Hit that subscribe button if you're tired of the chaos. And stay locked in, because we're not done with this story. Not even close.